My name is Melanie. It's nice to see you. You know, one of the things that is really amazing about Provincetown is that our dead friends live with us. And they're never very far from us. And I'm thinking today in particular of our friend Honey, and our friend Mona, and Grace Paley, because she always read with gum in her mouth. I put this piece of gum in my mouth 5 minutes before I stood up here, and I thought, why did I do that? And then I realized it because Grace told me to put the gum in my mouth, and so I did. And I have to say that one of the things that these three people have in common in my life is that they were really, really encouraging me of my having children, for which I'm really grateful, because I had them, and I'm grateful for that too. I started this project before my first child appeared, and I felt so much. We were coming off of many years of watching so many people that we love dying here, and I had always really wanted kids, and it was the only thing I thought I might regret if I didn't do in my life, and I didn't know how it was going to happen, so I just started to imagine it, and lo and behold, here they are. They're 10 and 11. So this is a book that I just found out is going to come out in the fall as a newfangled something called an ebook. And because I'm post 50, it feels a little strange, but you'll be able to download it on your Kindle, which I do understand, and I think it's a really interesting thing. So it's a long prose poem. It's a 30-page poem. And it's called Matrimorphosis. And it kind of tracks the period of time in which I was beginning to allow myself to imagine the possibility of my children, who ultimately appeared out of the ether. And I'm just going to read you the first section of this. Oh, for God's sake. So this is what she used to do, and I'm sorry if it's obnoxious, but I don't have anywhere else to put it. Metamorphosis. Gratitude. A constant need for fixing, for repair, electricity failing in the last big wind, causing our clocks to blink in the dark. We set the time, set towels against the chimney to staunch the leak, measure the door for repair. Molly set out pills for her mother morning and afternoon. I knit hats against the cold. Pipes froze. My mother had cancer, hers an intermittent heart like the blinking clocks. Hers was here, mine was far away. When we hit the lights at night, a fitful sleep came to greet us, dreams full of instruction as to what needed doing next, and we woke grateful for help. We drank our coffee strong, we walked the happy dog. Happiness, what was it? 6 in the morning, 3 in the afternoon, quiet swept in from the corners like dust. Dusk, not long after, on the shortest days, evening stretched before us like a sheet, smooth after dinner and a glass of wine and television and knitting and sleep. She helped with the shower, I fed. I made a cashmere cap for my mother, who was losing her hair to drugs. This happened here where the clocks slow down, where the tides shift imperceptibly until once again the stairs are gone and water overflows the shore. Gull buoys mark the swells, wind shoves sand round the rocks. It's a battle out there in the wind, or it's a joyride, depending on which direction you walk. If you want to get home, you have to walk both ways, oppose and acquiesce. On the beach, a dead dolphin, skin peeled back to reveal a maze of entrails, orderly and blood-swelled, held like a skiff in its ribs. But any knot is neat until it begins to unravel, I thought, standing coatless, amorphous, dissolved to my imaginal discs, but calm because the information of what I would become and how I would become it was so palpable in the chaos of unbecoming, which is how faith entered. Didn't bother calling the local rescue team whose job it was to record such deaths, and instead let the corpse to the tides, its toothed beaks open as if singing. All day, we'd been waiting for the wind to come, the rain or snow to begin so we could stop waiting. All day, I watched the boats come in, their riggings lashed against the wind. The outside stairs swayed like grasses. Wind filled the treads with air. I had my scissors, my tape, my handiness, but it was difficult to remember how to do things. Soon, this belly of mine, this cup, this bell would be full. We'd come to live in a house by the sea, time shifting quickly from the dross of daily life to hauling water from the concrete cistern beneath the crude stairs. Molly had a book of constellations, and she was determined that we learn something out there, moving from book to deck and back again, tracking Cassiopeia, Orion, the constellation we referred to as that fucking giraffe. Pay close enough attention, and it turns out you can feel the word spin, heads cocked like infant birds waiting to be fed, slightly dizzy with the progress. When it got too cold, we came inside, lit a fire, shack filling with sound, restless wind and shifting grasses second to the sound the spirits made. Neither poetic nor metaphoric, we'd watched some old man's ghost since we got there, pacing the kitchen floor, cupping his hands to peer in the door. White hair, smooth face, eyes the same yellow as the light. This place is on loan, he mouthed through the wavy glass, like the tenuous land on which he stood looking in, the great barrier dune giving way in the dark to the wind. What had seemed infinite felt limited now. Though I could not see the end of the line, I felt it coming, the way midway through a long train ride, one feels the destination, though the car has yet to slow. I went to sleep and dreamt that we received a baby in a box, fitted with a cardboard collar to keep her head erect in transit, a miniature 3-year-old stunned from the shipping, complete with printed description and instructions for unpacking and use. Her resignation alarmed me, but I could not send her back. There was a Thanksgiving meal I was supposed to prepare in a tiny, disheveled kitchen, and there were no tools to cook with, no time and no room, the whole enterprise colored by my distress about the child, how sad she was, and the wrong age, her head still upright and unblinking in the box, waiting to be taken in or sent away. Woke to a quiet, persistent rain, the sea idling in neutral while the heavens increased its volume steadily and precisely as a librarian shelving books. Looking out the window, I imagined 1,000 birds and whales along the shore, so thick you can walk across their backs, something I heard about this bay when the first white people came, though I believe they were referring to cod then. Molly passed her hand across her face to erase whatever dreams had been deposited there. Mostly, she didn't remember, letting my chatter fill the space in which she might be able to, my life, with her a flower that seemed exotic in the field, but turns out to have been growing there all along, poppy, lupin, mallow. When she turned to me, so be it, I was happy. It's the future now, I thought, there outside our window, boats still at it, but less fruitful in their trawling. I watched a trawler slip into the fog as if injected. As our friends described their insemination, I thought the fog is sexual, not clinical. And if she could just once, God, make me pregnant, just once, the child I wanted floating toward us like that boat out there, visible on the horizon, but further away than we thought. I wanted, let's admit it now, to have a child. To be a mother, I admit as well, I had yet to consider. I imagined 2 boys walking side by side into the wind. There was nothing either of them had to do, nowhere they had to go. One had long brown hair, one was blonde. One of them was talking, one was singing quietly under his breath. The one talking, the blonde one, believed something fatal and dramatic about love. The other was singing a pop song he learned from the radio. Whether he liked the song or not did not occur to him. He knew the song because he'd heard it 100 times, so it felt a part of him, like breathing. His hands were delicate and long, lightly brushing the nap of his green corduroy pants. The one talking had a pouty mouth. Fatal was the marriage of love and ambition. Dramatic was his rally against disappointment. Those boys walked the beach every day, dragging sticks behind them in the sand. Because they were American boys, they had dogs, who were nosing along at the dead skates, horseshoe crabs, prancing ahead as if remembering the horses they may have been meant to be. Everything lived potentially in the dogs as in the boys they followed. The day, I imagined, was overcast, not cold, not too warm either. The blonde boy's sweater was Episcopalian. The other boy's jacket was a Jew. Our beach follows the town. No, the town follows the beach, so the boys would never think about getting lost. They were growing up on this beach, which means they would enter the world confident in their sense of direction. What about this love? Most of the houses the boys would pass are abandoned, not forever, but for the season. The empty houses guard the memory of summer. Plywood on windows, locked doors, brown sedge, brittle Rosa rugosa lining the sandy paths. In my mind it was 4 o'clock, the light burning orange, clouds, the epitome of clouds, but how would the boys know that? These would be the only clouds they would have ever seen. When, years later, they left this place, they would understand that home is the ultimate relative, the standard by which every other place is judged, whether you like your home or not. Cloud would be deemed cloud only in relation to the clouds the boys saw on this beach while they walked. Home was what people called the high water mark, the traces of which could be seen on the seawalls as they passed. Then I saw girls on the beach, long hair switching in the wind. They were different from the boys. They did not notice the clouds at all because they were fully talking to each other. Like the man the other day with his metal detector divining the sand for treasure, these girls were pursuing some path into their own mysteries until they saw the boys. Then they slowed down, stopped talking, directed their attention to the boys. How can I get one? How can I keep one? What is one thinking? What does one have that I need? Attention. Hijacked from how can I get myself? How can I keep myself? What am I thinking? What do I have that I need? If I had a girl, I would keep her in front of a mirror, not figuratively, there's enough of that, but actually, what do you look like? What are you thinking? What do you want? And they looked at the houses they were passing, wondering aloud who lived inside. One of them was chattering, and one of them was thinking, what would it be like to own one of those houses? To live alone there without anyone looking. And she thought, wouldn't I be lonely? She amended her fantasy to include a man, perhaps one of the boys they recently passed. She stopped thinking. The girls wore their hair pulled straight back into ponytails, methodical pendulums. I've been watching more television lately, seeing the stories again, the ones everyone wants to believe and keeps making, all of men fucking girls, or killing girls, or girls killing men because they've been fucked by them, or have been thrown over for other girls. Older women do other things. They are angry, or maternal, or they are shrill, or shriveled, or one suspects they are lesbians. Often there are windows, and through them the sky, its silver lining getting into the pink and blue, as through the boarded-up house the girls were now passing, which was waiting for summer to come. Which would be ours, boys or girls? I remembered myself at the county fair, the country girls in their spiffy western wear, the boys with their slicked hair showing off the hogs they raised. It never seemed to bother them that after the ribbons were awarded and they went on home, someone, probably their fathers, would send the prize-winning hogs off to slaughter, as sure as those undecorated ones would be. Death was part of the deal going in. Everyone but us town kids knew that. I loved the green trees, the rallies in the late afternoons at the fairgrounds with everyone cheering whomever was up there speaking. I loved the horses in their clean stalls and the grassy smell of lambs and the other animals too. I loved the long Quonset huts full of agricultural displays, the rows of jam and science experiments, the fattest pumpkin, the longest ear of corn. All those displays infused with the essence of silent activity, the great feeling of one person's work and attention. Daily work no one saw, moved forward not on the fuel of approbation, but on the simple desire of a solitary person to proceed. I liked the pencils and scenic calendars they gave away free at the insurance booths. I liked appliance salesmen tying bright ribbons on their new fans that made the sticky air feel colder when they blew. Our county fair was so small, I could wander for a long time and never get lost. I loved the chicken house at the fair, the little bantams and russet cocks, the way their red combs flared in the shade against the yellow straw. I never went on rides, but I liked to watch the people who did, who clutched and screamed and let their long hair go wild in the wind. I ate corn dogs and wandered the skimpy midway, admiring the tattoos on the big forearms of the workers, not even on their biceps. I loved their cheekiness, their audacity. I was a big girl, and they leered at me, at all the girls and young women. It was their avocation to do so. I wasn't alone very often, so the times I was felt like traveling. I liked passing invisibly through the world, and the world passed invisibly through me too. Even now, I feel the steady lope of the river in my hometown and the hula of the willows on the banks. I feed the ducks. I watch little kids ride the Ferris wheel in the park. I'm here alone in an old car with big seats. I didn't come here to walk, to picnic, or to jog. I sit and I smoke and I watch. I'm wondering how I can get away from here, how I can get out as soon as possible, but how soon that is doesn't seem entirely up to me. I didn't buy one article of clothing for myself until I was 16. A flocked pink shirt of tender cotton I bought 3 sizes too big. On purpose, I told my mother when she looked at the tags. Back then, I didn't love my body in any subjective way. When I looked in the mirror, I saw a big, soft girl with too much belly to be sexy and not enough ass to be interesting. What I loved was the fact of it, the body free of scrutiny, the loose sway of that shirt on my skin. I loved the cottonwoods along the river filling the air in summer, so that, for a couple of weeks anyway, it seemed the hot world was full of snow. I loved the way the world turned in on itself, so nothing was the way you thought it was supposed to be. Like the blue-yellow light our fish tank gave long into the night, the sound of my sister turning like an animal in her sleep, the tank and the turning indelibly linked in my mind. When I think of her now, I think of this. County fair, animals, passing through. The way the thought of her sometimes comes, not as image, but as what? Dream, place, ghost. To be that rudimentary to someone, imagine, would I ever be? I want to make one announcement, if I may.
Go ahead.
So the other thing I do in my life now is I am the co-founder of an organization called the Alzheimer's Family Support Center on Cape Cod. And we have this amazing thing coming up on the 2nd of August at the Cape Playhouse in Dennis. A lovely actor named Melinda Buckley has a one-woman show that's in New York right now. And it's about her mom and her life with Alzheimer's. And it's an amazing piece. And she's going to do a one-night only performance for us as a benefit for the center, and everything we do is free, so we need money, and that's one way we can get it, is for you to come to this fabulous place. So if you want to know more about it, let me know.
When is it?
The 2nd of August. Okay, thank you.